Hey ladies, welcome back to the channel. So I know it has been a while, but I just want to let you guys know that I will be dropping a whole lot of content for you guys every day in 2023. I have so many videos for you guys. So much in store, my online nail supply store, so many new tutorials, so many new things that I'm excited to share with you guys. So stay tuned for those. I'm definitely going to do a video explaining where I've been and just everything that I have going on and everything coming up for Manicured. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm still doing my giveaway. We are so close to that, so make sure that you are turning on the post notifications so you can know every time I post and continue to get updates for that. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and hop into the tutorial. Today we are going to be doing a junk set, which are definitely one of my favorite things to do. So as you can tell, I just started by doing my prep. So I pushed back the cuticles and I went around the cuticles with my cuticle drill bit. In this instance, I used a cone shape and I just exposed the entire nail, and I got all of the dead nail, dead skin cells, all of that clear and free from the nail. I then took my pink 180 sanding band, which you can find on Amazon, and pretty much everything I use is from Amazon, y'all. But we'll get into that later. So yeah, I am just briefly going over where the natural nail meets the nail tip, and I'm blending it in, and then I'm also filing the nail tip itself, and this is just helps the acrylic adhere better. The blending part is really important because that is what helps with the retention. So now I am applying the Mia Secret dehydrator, and the second thing that I'm applying is the Young Nails Protein Bond. The dehydrator is really important because that is what helps dehydrate the nails one last time, getting rid of all of the natural oils. And the Young Nails Protein Bond is important because that is what helps prime it and get it ready for the acrylic application. You don't have to use those two brands, but those are what I like to use. They have many out there, but these two are just the ones that I like best so far. And I didn't show this part, but I do apply 2 coats of each. That's not necessarily, required. It's totally optional. You can just do 1 of each, but I do 2. I feel like it helps better, but to each his own. Do what you feel works for you. So now we are going into the acrylic application, and I'm using Cover Rosebud by Young Nails. And 9 times out of 10, y'all, this is what I use for my base. Of course, if I'm doing something that requires me to use clear acrylic, like some type of chunky glitter, or if I'm doing like an ombre, I may use a white, or whatever case may be, I may use a different product. But as far as the base, if I'm doing something that doesn't require anything else, 10 times out of 10, I'm using my Cover Rosebud by Young Nails. I just love it so much. It's so smooth. It's so clean. As you can see, it's applying like butter. It works so well for me. So I definitely recommend it. And you can buy this off Amazon. I do run through this like water. I think the jar that I buy is like a 2 or 4 ounce. And I literally have to buy like 2 or 3 a month. So, but that just shows you how good it is. I use it that much. So as you can see, most of the time, now this does vary, depending on the length and the shape and what you're doing. But for a basic, just, application, most of the time you only need about 3 to 4 beads. And granted, this is not like the nail law. It's, different for every nail tech. Some people can work with more, some people can work with less. But I feel like general rule of thumb is you only need about 3 or 4. And I like to work my way up from the bottom to the top, the free edge of the nail to the cuticle. I feel like that is the best, most efficient way. It helps you stay clean. It helps you build a nice foundation. So I definitely recommend that. I do place my first bead at the free edge, and I do kind of just, lightly pat it down. You do not want to drag it. You don't want to pull it. You just want to feather it. That is what will, help start to build that foundation. You don't want to, like I said, pull it or drag it, anything of that nature, because it will just wipe the acrylic off. It'll clog in your brush, and it'll just become a whole ordeal. So you just want to lightly pat it, lightly feather it. And I place my next bead right above that. Now this is where it really gets important, because this is where you build your apex. The apex is where the natural nail and the nail tip meet. So where you apply the nail tip, basically, that is the apex, and that is the part that is the most important, because 9 times out of 10, if a nail breaks, that is where it's going to break. And that's because you kind of have to think about it like when you glue the nail tip on, that's kind of like the seed, like you're planting a flower seed, and then applying the rest of the acrylic is like the flower growing. It's like watering it. So like in this instance, placing the nail tip on the nail is like planting the seed, and then building up the foundation right there is building up the apex. Is like the root, the flower, the watering. That's what's going to hold it on. That's like the heart of the nail. So you just want to make sure that you are building that up pretty nicely. As you can see, I placed another bead right above that, and I'm going to place one more just slightly above that, close to the cuticle. And overall, those 3 beads that we just placed are going to all run over top of the apex, which is going to leave it, nice and built up. One thing I will say though, is that you want to make sure that you're constantly wiping around the skin, wiping around the cuticle. As you can see, that's what I'm doing, and I'm just keeping everything nice and clean. It's definitely better to work smarter and not harder. So the cleaner you work now, the less you'll have to do later. As you can see, I'm kind of like patting it in, kind of tucking it into the cuticle. This is totally optional. I just feel like it helps with preventing lifting. I'm like really sealing it, really locking it in. You do not that's another thing I want to say is that, like I said earlier, my tutorials are just meant to help, but they're not like the law of nails. I know when I first started, there were a few YouTubers that I watched, and I was so frustrated because every single technique that they would show, I would try to do, and it wouldn't always work out or look exactly how theirs did. So I kind of tweaked it, and now I am here where I am. So that's why I said do what works for you. Try different things, maneuver things a little bit, finagle things a little bit, and see, you might have a better outcome. So one more thing I do want to mention when it comes to application is always look at your client's nails from the side. Look at them from, like I said, different points of view, because it's easier to go back and add more acrylic while the acrylic is wet and able to be manipulated, rather than later down the road. Which, yes, you can still go add more acrylic in, but it's just better to do it all while it's wet. And if you feel like you need to add more acrylic, definitely add more acrylic. That's why I said earlier that just because I only use 3 or 4 beads doesn't mean that everyone has to. So with this video being mostly focused on the acrylic application, I did not show me filing the nails or e-filing, which I didn't even realize until now. So like I just mentioned, all nail techs make mistakes. I guess I didn't realize that. So I do have plenty of other videos for you guys to watch that on, but in this case, I guess since I mainly was posting this for acrylic application and prep, that I just forgot to post that part. So here I have them filed. I went ahead and e-filed them, and like I said, we were doing a junk set, so that's pretty much just a bunch of jewels, different variety of jewels over the nail. What I do when applying my jewels, I do go ahead and apply the top coat. So in this instance, I already have a gel top coat applied, and I let that cure for one round of 60 seconds and then another for 30. And then I'm going in with my Beetles rhinestone glue, and I'm just putting that on the nail. I do use like a little cleanup brush to kind of spread that out, just to make it nice and even, because I have noticed that when I make big clumps of it, or when I apply big clumps of it, it's very noticeable. It doesn't look nice and smooth. So I do just like to kind of, lightly smooth it out, and don't worry about your brush getting like clogged with the glue. It is pretty thick, but all you have to do is dip it in some acetone to clean it off. And so I am using these tweezers to apply the gems, and I literally have no method. I just went into my jewel boxes, picked out my favorite jewels, a bunch of literally everything I have, and just went crazy. I just, wherever my hand took me, whatever jewel, it wanted me to pick up, that's exactly what I did. So you do want to make sure though that you are applying enough glue, and also when putting the gems on, you don't want to, you want to make sure that they are in the glue. So I don't mean really, like smudge them into the glue, but sometimes, especially when you're moving fast, you might just sit them right on top, and they might not dry all the way. They might not be able to like set in the glue to actually dry. So you just want to make sure that they, are on there pretty good. And also, this happens to me a lot, and it's so frustrating, especially when you're using bigger jewels. If your client's fingers are this might not happen, but it just happens to me a lot. So sometimes like my client's fingers will be slanted or facing downwards, whatever the case may be, and the jewels will slip and the jewels will slide, and they might even fall off the nail. You might have to replace them, XYZ. It's so frustrating, especially when you're doing something like this and you have so many jewels. So I just, as you see, I just had to fix that menu symbol. So I just recommend either moving, doing a few, only, 1 or 2 fingers at a time, or just make sure that you're holding your client's fingers, straight, as you can see I am. And definitely make sure that you check the jewels before putting them under the dryer. I think that's one of the biggest tips that I can give. I'm not sure about other rhinestone glues, but I know with this Macart, that's the brand I'm using, by the way, which I got off Amazon. In this instance, once I put it under the dryer, I believe it only takes like maybe 5 seconds, if that, to dry. So it's almost instant. And so, if there was a case where I had to put on a different gem or fix it, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to completely have to pop it off. And by that point, the rhinestone glue underneath of it might have already dried into the shape of the crystal that you applied. Whatever the case may be, you might end up having to like file the rhinestone glue off, which will take the top coat off and reapply that. It's just literally a whole process. So I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying you'd rather be safe than sorry, and just make sure that the jewels are nice and straight, or however you're applying them, however you want them to be. That way, as soon as you put them under the dryer, they'll dry and boom, you're good. As you can see, I do have some sliding off. That Saturn gem is giving me hell. Um, but we made it work, and so this is the finished result. I didn't show the thumbs just because I'm sure you guys get the gist, but I am literally obsessed with this set. I'm actually about to do it on myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any questions or videos you want to see me do, comment down below. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check me out on my Instagram, and until next time.